It started with a turtleneck. Plain black, ribbed, just warm enough for the early morning chill. Maya had worn it plenty of times before, never thought twice about it. Her slacks were pressed, her curls were pinned up, her makeup was soft, polished, but simple. Like always. She kissed her toddler goodbye, grabbed her badge off the hook and locked the door behind her. Another Tuesday. Another long day in the office she practically kept running. She wasn't flashy, she wasn't late, she was just consistent. But something felt off the moment she walked in. The front desk guy looked up and actually stared. Then her supervisor, who usually barely mumbled hello, gave her a long once-over before awkwardly asking how her weekend was. Little things, but enough to make her shift in her seat. By lunch, 2 coworkers had asked if she had a date after work. By 3, her manager pulled her into a room. "There've been some concerns about your appearance," he said. "It's distracting." Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. He complimented her work, called her reliable. But the message was clear: cover up, tone it down, blend in. Maya nodded, smiled, left the room. But something in her cracked that day. Not loud or visible, just permanent. She didn't know it yet, but that same turtleneck, the one they said was too much, would be back. Only next time it'd be in a courtroom. And this time she'd be the one staring back. After that meeting, Maya tried to let it go. She came in early, wore cardigans even when it was hot, kept her head down. She smiled through morning briefings, avoided the break room, skipped after-work drinks. She didn't want to give anyone a reason to say her name when she wasn't in the room, but they did anyway. It started small, whispered side comments when she walked by. A smirk here, a muttered joke there. She'd catch someone glancing, then looking away fast, like they'd been caught. She's doing the most again. Guess HR didn't say it loud enough the first time. Trying to get another warning with those pants? Her actual performance never changed. If anything, Maya worked harder. But somehow the respect she'd earned over years began slipping, replaced with snide remarks and silent judgment. People talked about her like she was a distraction, like she was deliberately making them uncomfortable, like existing in her body was a choice. The worst part? Management didn't step in. If anything, they watched from a distance, not helping, just documenting. A paper trail in the making. Maya could feel it, the slow unraveling of her reputation, the way they were building a case, not around her work, but around how people felt about her. She started to eat lunch in her car. She stopped volunteering for presentations. She shrank herself in every way possible, but still, it wasn't enough. They had already decided she didn't fit the culture. And soon, they'd find the perfect excuse to make that official. The email came on a Friday. Subject line: performance review. Immediate attention required. Maya stared at it for a full minute before clicking. Her chest tightened, not because she expected it to be bad, but because she knew it wouldn't be about her performance at all. She wasn't wrong. The document was dressed in professional language, but the subtext was clear. It mentioned team cohesion, visual professionalism, and previous discussions regarding attire. There was a line about employee discomfort. No names, of course. Just vague, recycled phrases that made it all sound reasonable. But it wasn't. Maya's metrics were solid. She had the receipts, spreadsheets, feedback forms, customer reviews, all glowing. She hadn't missed a deadline, hadn't raised her voice, hadn't worn anything outside the dress code, and yet they were treating her like a problem they were trying to phase out quietly. The kicker? HR never said she violated policy, they just said she created disruptions. And when she asked for specifics, dates, examples, anything, they couldn't give her any. Just another gentle reminder to be more mindful of how she presented herself. It wasn't a warning about her work. It was a warning about being herself. That weekend, Maya didn't go out. She sat at her kitchen table surrounded by printouts and notes, scrolling through internal emails, piecing together every strange meeting, every quiet shift in energy. They wanted her gone, but they wanted her to walk out on her own. What they didn't know was, Maya was done shrinking. She wasn't going to quit. She was going to document. It happened on a Wednesday. Quarterly check-in day, the kind where everyone's too busy updating spreadsheets and faking smiles to pay much attention to anything else. Maya was at her desk, headphones in, eyes locked on a report she'd spent all morning fixing. She didn't even notice the HR manager walk in. Or the second person, her direct supervisor, standing awkwardly by the doorway. Then she heard her name, loud, in the open. No, can we speak privately? No courtesy. Just, Maya, can you come with us for a moment? The whole office went still. Like someone had hit pause. Maya stood up slowly, heart pounding, already knowing what this was. She followed them to a corner room, the one with the glass walls and no blinds. Everyone could see in. Inside, they didn't bother pretending. No folder, no discussion. Just a printed letter across the table, and a forced "we've decided to end your employment effective immediately." She blinked. Can I ask why? HR cleared their throat. As we've documented, there have been ongoing concerns about your professionalism and the impact on team dynamics. She almost laughed. They didn't mention metrics, didn't mention performance, just vague accusations tied to her presence, her existence. Then the final insult. You're welcome to gather your things quietly. But we'll need your badge now. She walked out holding her coat and her dignity, refusing to cry in front of them. But as she passed her desk, co-workers stared, not with sympathy but with curiosity, like she was a cautionary tale. They fired her for being a distraction. But the real distraction was how calmly she left, because she already knew. This wasn't the end of the story. Maya didn't plan to go viral. She just wanted to speak, to tell her side before the company buried it in silence and vague HR language. So she wrote a post, not angry, just honest. A photo of the outfit she wore that day, the same black turtleneck they called distracting. Below it, a caption, "I was fired today for how I look, not how I work. 3 years of perfect reports, 0 complaints about my actual performance. But somehow, this outfit made me unprofessional." She closed her laptop and went to sleep. By morning, it had over 80,000 shares. People were furious. Women from every corner of the internet commented with their own stories. Being pulled into HR for lipstick that was too bold, heels that were too high, curves that were too visible. Some posted side-by-side images, what men wore to the office versus what women were punished for. It hit a nerve, and fast. But with support came backlash. Anonymous accounts accused her of lying. People zoomed in on her photo, analyzing her body, her expression, her posture, like her trauma was a case study. Others said she was attention-seeking, that she should have known better, that she brought it on herself. It was the same game, just on a bigger stage. Only now, the whispers were tweets. The judgment was global. Maya didn't respond. She didn't need to. Because one message changed everything. I'm a civil rights attorney. If you're serious about fighting this, I'll take your case pro bono. And just like that, her silence ended. The lawyer's message sat in Maya's inbox for 3 days before she replied. Not because she wasn't interested, but because she was tired. Tired of reliving it. Tired of being the girl with the turtleneck. She didn't want a spotlight, she wanted peace. But peace wasn't an option anymore. So she met with the attorney, a sharp, calm woman named Evelyn, who didn't flinch once while Maya told her everything. The outfit, the whispers, the fake warnings, the final walkout. Evelyn didn't blink. They fired you for your body, not your behavior. That's discrimination. And we can prove it. Maya still hesitated. People around her kept saying it wasn't worth it. They're too big, you'll lose, they'll drag your name through the mud, you should just move on. But something in her had shifted. She'd already been humiliated. She'd already been made small. The worst part had already happened, and she was still standing. So they filed. The moment the paperwork hit the system, everything changed. Maya's name was now tied to a public case. The company lawyered up fast. HR stopped speaking in vague terms and started releasing statements. Quiet people from her past job began reaching out in secret, saying, "I saw it too. I just didn't say anything." The silence that protected her former workplace was cracking, and this time, Maya wasn't alone. The first day of the hearing, Maya wore the same outfit they fired her for. Not out of defiance, out of principle. She sat tall in that same black turtleneck like it was armor. The courtroom was cold, sterile. The company's legal team came in with laptops, binders, and polite smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Then the gaslighting began. They didn't deny they fired her. They didn't deny the outfit. What they denied was the why. Their lawyer painted a picture of Maya as uncooperative, unapproachable, a difficult presence in the office. They said she made others uncomfortable, that her attire created disruption, and that her firing had nothing to do with her body, just office culture expectations. They used words like vibes and team chemistry, Things you couldn't prove, but could feel. Things that made Maya seem like the problem. She listened in silence, hands clasped in her lap, while strangers twisted her story into a narrative she barely recognized. When her lawyer stood up, she didn't raise her voice. She raised the facts. Emails, performance reports, Slack messages between managers, where they called Maya a distraction, and even joked about HR needing to fix the outfit situation before someone gets in trouble. The courtroom shifted. No one was laughing now. They tried to bury Maya's story under polished language and fake professionalism, but the receipts were real, and this time, the silence wasn't hers. It was the third day of the hearing when Maya took the stand. Up until then, she'd let her lawyer speak for her. Let the documents speak. Let the silence speak. But now it was her voice that needed to be heard. She didn't shake. She didn't cry. She opened a binder and turned to a printed email chain, the one her lawyer had pulled from the company's own server. Subject: Maya, outfit again. She looked at the judge, then began to read. We might need to have another talk. That top is way too tight for the floor. Again. It's becoming a distraction. It's hard to manage the guys when they can't stop staring. If she's not going to tone it down, we need to document this ASAP. Each line landed like a punch. This isn't about policy, it's about perception. She's technically within dress code, but we both know the effect she has. Maya paused, looked around the courtroom. These aren't my words, she said. These are theirs. The defense shifted in their seats. The HR rep, sitting just a few rows back, avoided her eyes completely. Maya turned another page. Maybe if she got less attention, she'd dress differently. Let's give her a written warning. Nothing official, just enough to keep her in check. The room was silent. She closed the binder. I didn't break a rule. I broke their comfort. That day, the courtroom saw what Maya had seen all along. It wasn't about a turtleneck, it was about control. And when they realized they couldn't control her anymore, they cut her loose. But now she had all the proof, and she wasn't going anywhere. The courtroom was packed the day the verdict came in. Maya sat still, hands folded, expression calm, but her heart was racing. She wasn't sure what she'd hear. Even with the emails, the performance reviews, the blatant paper trail, part of her still feared the system would find a way to protect itself. But the judge's words were clear. Wrongful termination, gender-based discrimination, retaliation. She'd won. A full settlement, damages, a formal apology from the company, which of course they only issued because they were legally forced to. But Maya didn't care. This win wasn't just about money. It was about truth. Within hours, the news broke. Woman fired for her outfit wins landmark discrimination case. Corporate dress code or body shaming? Office bias exposed in viral lawsuit. The headlines came fast. The hashtags followed. Hashtag she worried again. Hashtag fired for fashion. Hashtag respect the body. Talk shows covered it. Podcasts debated it. Celebrities posted in solidarity. Women everywhere began sharing photos of outfits they'd been judged or disciplined for. Suddenly, what happened to Maya wasn't just her story. It was a mirror. HR departments scrambled. Companies reviewed dress codes overnight. Maya's case had opened a conversation no one could ignore anymore. Why are women still punished for how their bodies exist? She never wanted fame. She wanted fairness. But now the whole country was talking about her. Not as a victim, but as a woman who refused to be erased. And the outfit they tried to shame? It was trending. Maya didn't set out to be a symbol. She didn't want headlines. She didn't want hashtags. She wanted her job back, her dignity intact, and to go to work without being treated like a problem just for existing in her body. But the world had other plans. Within weeks of the verdict, she was invited to speak at conferences. Schools asked her to consult on dress code reform. Workplace equity groups called her an example of modern resistance. Some people thanked her. Others tried to dismiss her, said she was just lucky, that her case was an exception. But Maya knew better. She didn't go viral because she was loud. She went viral because she was right. Because deep down, so many women recognized themselves in her story. The whispered warnings, the double standards, the way silence was always expected, and professionalism was always code for less of you, more of them. Now, she speaks, but only when she wants to. She chooses her interviews. She sets her own hours. She still wears the black turtleneck, not as a statement, but as a reminder of everything they tried to erase and everything she reclaimed. She didn't ask to lead a movement. She just refused to shrink for someone else's comfort. And in doing so, she gave other women permission to stop shrinking, too. How many women have to lose everything before we start asking better questions? What does it really mean to be professional? And who gets to decide what's distracting and what's just being human? If this story made you think, made you feel something, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, talk about it, and ask yourself, would you have spoken up? Because Maya did, and she's not the only one.